Hi, fourth graders. Mrs. Iwanski here to talk elephants and how they are knowing that those rainstorms are coming. So we have our diagram going over here. I have my driving question board going over here. And one thing that scientists do is to do some experiments to figure out how things work or how things function in the world. So we are going to start in our first column here of how do animals receive information in their environment and do a couple of experiments around how animals are sensing information. So before we do that, I do want to talk about a couple of vocabulary words here and talk about how we're going to do our sense stations today. So the first key term that we're going to talk about is structure. A structure is a part of an animal's body that serves a specific purpose. Now, you may have heard structure used in other ways, like a building is a structure, but think about it in terms of a building is a structure that's serving a specific purpose. So when we talk about structures of our bodies, they are pieces of our bodies that are serving a specific purpose. So I have a nose so that I can smell. I have a mouth so that I can eat and I can breathe. I have ears so that I can hear. And so we're going to learn about some structures that animals have that might be the same or might be different than structures that people have. But for sure, they're going to be serving a purpose for that animal. The next word we're going to talk about is function. The function is the purpose of that structure. So different structures in animals are used to help that animal survive. So maybe camouflage or the structure of their fur patterns, to grow or to reproduce to make sure that they don't go extinct. And so different structures within the animal have different functions. And then the special structures that we're going to talk about today are the sensory structures. And so, similar to just general structures, these are the structures whose functions are specifically about helping them to sense information. So, any structure that is helping an animal gather information about its environment or where it is, where it's trying to survive, is called a sensory structure. So today what we're going to do is participate in 3 sense stations. These stations will need to be set up in your home, or if you're unable to set them up in your home, you can watch my demonstration videos and it will show you what you would have seen if you set up this lab on your own. The items that you'll need for this lab are not too crazy complicated, but to make sure that you all had access to what you needed, they are included in the science kit that you were able to pick up from school on Tuesday or today. So if you haven't picked up your science kit yet, you might just want to hold off on doing some of these experiments until you get your kit. Otherwise, you can certainly look around your home and find alternatives to some of the things that you needed to use. So one of the things that you will want for sure, if you have access to it, is your science notebook from school. If you don't have access to it, you will just want some paper to record your answers to a couple of things on. I'm on page 9 of my science notebook, and if you can see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. It says sense, and then it doesn't list anything. The first sense that we are going to talk about today is going to be a touch station. So I could just go ahead and in my journal, label that the first sense I'm going to look at is touch station. Now, up above that, there are 3 questions that it asks me to answer after I complete that station. And it's always a good idea to know what it is that you're going to have to answer later on. So the 3 questions that we're going to be looking at in each of these stations are, at the sense station, did you sense information the same way the animal did? If not, what can the animal sense that you cannot? The second question is, what sensory structure helps you sense this information? So what structure of your body helped you sense this information? How is the sensory structure in the animal different? So you'll want to think about what structure you have, and then how is the animal different than that? And then number 3 is, how does sensing this information help the animal? So for our touch station, from our kit, we would need a dropper. If you don't have your kit, again, just something that can do little drops of water. You will want something to hold the water in. We're going to be doing drops of water and seeing how long it takes us to feel the ripples of that water. So some kind of plastic bin, plastic tote, kitchen sink with some water in it, whatever kind of bin you could use for water. Make sure you ask your parents what you're allowed to fill with water. And then ideally, you would have a partner or some other person participating in this with you. If that's not possible, you can certainly have your hand on one side and drip from the other side. You just get a better realistic sense if you aren't the one dripping the water and trying to feel it. In your science packet, you have a couple of things. You then have these directions that will tell you exactly what you need to do at that station. So you would read the part up here, and then down here it tells you exactly what you're going to do. There's also a text for each station. So the text is going to tell you about what animal you're comparing it to. So for the touch station, you are comparing your sense of touch to that of a crocodile. So you would read this text about how a crocodile is able to sense touch, and then you would do this investigation. When you're done, you will answer these 3 questions in your journal. The second station you're going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and get my notebook set up for it right away, is going to be the smell station. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in my journal. For the smell station, you will need the small plastic bags from your science kit. There's also some cotton balls in your science kit. You need some things that smell kind of strong. So suggestions that our science curriculum gives us would be something like syrup or Listerine, vinegar, something that has that strong smell. Again, probably best idea to ask your parents what types of things in your home you would be allowed to use. There's also a ruler in your science kit, just a paper one that you can cut out. If you have a different ruler at home, you are certainly welcome to use it. Just wanted to make sure everybody had what they needed. Similar to the touch station, you're going to do a couple of things. You first want to read the text about what animal you're comparing to. So for the smell station, you are comparing to the smell sense of a dog. So how strong how well can a dog smell something? And then you have the direction sheet for that station that's going to tell you exactly how to set up and the steps to doing the test. What you're going to be doing is to hang those bags up and then see how close somebody has to get to the bag before they can identify what smell is inside that bag. Okay? When you're done with that station, again, answering the questions in your journal for the smell station. The final station is the taste station. So I'm going to go ahead and label my journal right away for the taste station. Though this one seems like it would maybe be the most fun because we get to taste something. In science, we don't often eat in our labs because they aren't always the cleanest or the safest to eat in. So for the taste station, there actually isn't anything that you need to taste. You actually don't even need any materials from your science kit except for that packet with the directions and the text. The first thing you're going to do is to read this text, which is about the taste buds of a cow and how they are able to taste as well as they are. You will then look at this sheet and it tells you that all you need to do is to read the taste text, which was the one I just held up. You'll examine the photograph at the station. I've actually placed the photograph on this slide. It doesn't show up there yet, but it will be on there because it's much better if you see it in color. So you'll want to look at the photograph on the slide. And then it says to discuss with your group. You can decide if you want to discuss with somebody at home or fill in your ideas on your own. At the end, you'll answer those same 3 questions, but it will just be based on your reading and not on an investigation that you have done. Like I said, hopefully you have a chance to run the touch and the smell station at home. It's always fun to do a little bit of hands-on science. But if you don't have that opportunity, there are 2 other videos linked on Google Classroom that you can take a look at to see how those stations turned out when I ran them with Mr. Iwanski in our home.